or her? Epilogue or her? I'm confused, man. This was locked. The epilogue was locked before. I remember that. I guess we'll go with her since it's the beginning. What is this? Death. So it's the next chapter. Okay, I chose the correct one. He died. So he died. And she's more sad. Oh, I feel so sorry for Hazel. The young girl sits stiffly on the uncomfortable wooden pew. She holds her head held high, her eyes fixed towards the front. It's the same priest as before, the one who conducted her mother's funeral, who kept getting her name wrong. At least he has the common courtesy to get this name right. Something about the way he falls from his thin lips seems off, though I like he's placing the emphasis on the wrong syllables. He sounds like a foreigner trying to speak an unfamiliar language. His name would be unfamiliar to this priest. He's never met him, probably doesn't have any idea who he is. Priest's eyes are almost as cold as the wind blowing outside. He hardly seems to blink. It's unnerving. She shivers, pressing her woolly black knees together. He really does look like the villain from the Hunchback of Notre Dame. That's what he said at the kitchen table over at the... Wait, that was what he said at the kitchen table over that door game of Risk. But again, when wasn't Risk door? Only 1 week ago. It was a silly joke, an attempt to ease the heavy atmosphere. It hadn't been very funny, but she still laughed. They had both laughed together. She'd felt a bit guilty about it at the time, given the somber circumstances, but maybe she should have laughed more. If she had, maybe her brother wouldn't have died. Oh, I feel sorry for her because her brother died, her mother died. Oh my god. Hazel's shoulders shake. She sniffs, wiping her eyes with her arm. It was suicide. Undoubtedly, she had found him in the bathroom around 8 AM. She wanted to brush her teeth, comb her hair, maybe try out a new style, see if it impressed Cass when she saw him again. As soon as she entered the bathroom, the wooden door creaking upon its hinges, she wished she hadn't. She had known something was wrong before she had a chance to examine the body. The bathroom, white and sparkling as ever, was filled with an unpleasant odour that made Hazel's stomach turn. It smelled like old nappies, a stench Hazel had familiarity with, given the amount of time she had babysit for Mrs. Whitman next door. Her brother had been lying in the bathtub, wrapped up in his old dressing gown he'd worn it when he was a teenager, before he went to university. It was navy blue, almost 20 years old, older than Hazel herself. He was staring up at the ceiling, his eyes wide open, but they were glassy and unblinking. Hazel stood in the doorway, staring at him for several minutes, hardly daring to move, hardly able to breathe. Hey? She approached him slowly, with the stumbling gait of a sleepwalker. Maybe he had fallen asleep with his eyes open, but why would he be in the bathtub? It couldn't be uncomfortable there. Surely, why was he so still? Then it was a prank, some kind of practical joke. Her brother did have quite a cynical sense of humor, but not even he would do something this mean-spirited, especially not considering the circumstances. Hazel shuffled forwards, her breath catching in her chest. She reached out, her fingers brushing his shoulder, ready to shake him. Wake up! Snap out of it! It's not April Fool's Day, you know. But these words died on her lips the moment she touched him. He was completely still. It had been an overdose, the coroner said. Aspirin. It would probably have taken around 4 to 6 hours for him to finally die, slowly, agonizingly, in pain. Hazel couldn't imagine. While she had been asleep in the bed that night, dressed in her Winnie the Pooh pajamas, her brother had been lying in the bathtub, bleeding internally throughout the night. Or maybe he had fallen asleep before that happened, she hoped so. But his eyes had been wide open. But how did Lily kill him? That's the thing. I thought so she killed him with like drugs? Hazel winces and shakes her head. Why would her brother do something like that? He'd been cheerful, hadn't he? Or not cheerful. not given their mother's death, but he'd been coping. Her brother was a coper. That was what Hazel had always thought. He'd always seemed so mature to her, so adult, wearing shirts and ties before she'd even learnt to put on her own dungarees. Maybe she'd been wrong. She must have been wrong. Why else would he kill himself? Oh my god, she really didn't know that much about him. She'd been 2 years old when he left home, and when she only ever saw him at a large family gatherings, Christmases, sometimes Easter, once or twice a year if she was lucky. He'd hardly been like a brother to her at all. In truth, he was more like a stranger, but she loved him all the same. They were flesh and blood after all. Sometimes they played board games together, and he even bought her more presents and told silly jokes. But she'd noticed, with every passing Christmas, his face had looked greyer and greyer, and the wrinkles around his eyes and mouth more and more pronounced. Was his job that really stressful? Had he hated it that much? Was that why he did it? But maybe it wasn't a big reason. Maybe it was some kind of slow, malignant sadness that gradually crept upon its unsuspecting victims, rendering them unable to resist. Hazel doesn't know. He'd even leave a note. She leans forwards, her arms wrapped around her stomach. Her face is white. She imagines what it would feel like, the unbearable pain of her own internal organs beginning to shut down while her body struggles to cling to life. When she was 13, she had appendicitis. Her mother had whisked away to the nearest hospital in less than half an hour. It had been a busy Friday night, and it had taken around 2 hours for a doctor to see her. The pain during that time had been excruciating. The Hazel thought she should never forget that experience for as long as she lived, but the details have already started to fade. She can't remember that sharp, stabbing sensation anymore. All she has is that vague recollection that it had hurt. Nothing more. The physical feeling is gone. Maybe sad things are like that, too. At the time, they may seem unsurmountable and impossible to overcome. But given 1 or 2 years, the feelings fade away, replaced with a little more than a dull ache and a vague memory. Physical pain doesn't last forever. Physical pain doesn't last forever. No matter how much it hurts, emotional pain must be the same. Why couldn't her brother have hung on? Why couldn't he have tried a little harder? But maybe that's naive. Maybe he had been trying his whole life, struggling against the inevitable. He just got tired of trying. Oh. But that is very, very... Her son died anyways. Apparently we pressed 0 here. Okay. Oh, there we go. Notes. Thank you for reading Lily of the Valley. You were able to make it to this special secret screen. You deserve a pat on the back. You work hard for it. Or this is the future and someone has discovered how to access the screen, post about it online, clicking on a button on your screen isn't exactly changing. Sorry. I would have ended up actually smashing the keyboard if I wanted to. I wanted to include some author's notes in Lily, but the structure of the story meant there wasn't anywhere I could add them unobtrusively. Don't know what that means. Completing both endings of the main story unlocked the epilogue. Unlocking the notes at the same time as the epilogue wouldn't feel quite right, since the story isn't finished yet, and I wouldn't be able to talk to them about the most important themes of the game. However, you've once read the epilogue. The game is supposed to make itself unplayable for narrative purposes. The main character died, and so did the story. Having an easy to find author's notes section in this grim game over meant you would break the immersion too much and seem kind of intrusive. And that's why I hid the notes instead. You can still access them in the game, but they're tucked away in a spot that hopefully won't ruin the impact of the story's conclusion. Though it makes me wonder how many people will find them. Lily of the Valley was originally written in the summer of 2014. Over the course of a week, I think. I wrote it after completing the three main routes of my long branching VN, the way we all go, mostly for a change of pace. Writing TWWAG inspired my initial ideas for Lily. Oh, it's a short way of saying that. Okay, it's an other VN, I never heard of it. As my first plan for Lily was somewhat akin to a dating sim. The main character was Japanese, who returned home to a countryside to attend the funeral of his parents, and finds three cute Shinigami girls who are competing to reap his soul. It sounds like it might make an interesting story, but Lily turned into something entirely different when I actually sat down and wrote it. Though I originally wanted to set Lily in Japan, one of the biggest influences for Lily was probably the Dandelion Girl, a short free visual novel that was released in 2010 by JP Project. Lily's design was also partially inspired by Julie, the heroine from the Dandelion Girl. The 2014 release of Lily was in the 800x600 resolution, used filtered photographs, and was told entirely in VL mode, and all assets were stock except the singular sprite of Lily. Hazel didn't have a sprite back then. The script also wasn't proofread properly, and there were a lot of errors. Well, the 2014 version was also free. Oh, the original version looked like this. I didn't know you went to the funeral. I didn't see it. Okay. Wow. That 2014 they look like this. They still look pretty good. So there's been quite a drastic change. Lily's original sprite from 2014 can still be used in this updated version if people prefer. I also commissioned the original artist for Lily, Esri, to draw a sprite of Hazel in a similar style, so it wouldn't feel too jarring to switch between the sprite styles and discover that Hazel disappears. The overall look of the old visual novel is a lot less polished, but I have a soft spot for the font I use, says Sazanami Gothic. It's the default font that comes with Japanese visual novel engine OnScripter, and several visual novels made in OnScripter, the most famous being 07 expansions Yumineko and Higurashi series, but Dandelion Girl as well use this font. I wanted to include this font as an option in the updated version, but it doesn't support open quotation marks or M dashes, so it made the updated script look ugly and unprofessional. In terms of story, there's some pretty obvious symbolism there. Lilies are typically associated with death. There are 13 chapters, 13 being an unlucky number, and the game itself becomes non-functional along with the protagonist. As for what Lily is, exactly, I'll leave it up to your interpretation. Lily is rather similar story-wise to one of my more recent visual novels, Sweetest Monster. Yeah, I saw that one, but I was trying to read it, but then I was like, nah. While working on Sweetest Monster, I imagine that Belle and Lily are both part of the same mysterious species, whatever their species is. So you can tell the two stories as being linked if you want. I haven't read it, so I don't know. Lily also has a special place in my heart, as it's the only visual novel I've written where I exclusively base the main character on a real person. I suppose the characters are Axphyria are also based on real people, but Lily's lead is based on somebody I know and have interacted within my actual life. The story was partially written for this other person, as a way to try and convince them of a few things that I couldn't do by myself. It's been a while now, and I'm not sure if it worked, but this is what I was trying to say. If you ever feel like you're stuck in a rut without a meaningful job, or any meaningful relationships, you should stop and think. Sometimes it might not seem like it will make any difference. If you try to smile or not, we all die in the end anyway. But if you do die, you'll leave people behind who miss you. In life, you don't get second chances. Oh. Okay. Wow, that's what she looks like. And Hazel looks like she's pregnant or something. I don't know, but wow. So the moral, I don't really get the moral of the story, but I'm just gonna take a guess, like say. It's that, I don't know, don't give up or something. Like, I know we're all gonna die someday, but like, the thing is that I don't want to think about that. I just want to enjoy life right now, you know what I mean? Just enjoy it. I don't want to think about, oh no, we're gonna die in 30 years or might even die next week. I don't want to think about any of that. You just don't think about it, just enjoy your life now. And don't do stupid shit in your life that'll end up getting you killed, pretty much. That's what I gotta say. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed it. This really affected me, actually. Not really, but like, it told me something, you know what I mean? Hope you enjoyed it, And I hope he did tell you something. It's very important. And see you next time. Peace out. Take care. Bye.